We just got breaking news that the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and digital asset stockpile are now live. Despite that, the market is pulling back big time. In this video, I want to talk about what's going on with the market right now, why we're selling off despite this happening, how this is different than some people might have thought. Guys, make sure to stick around for this whole thing. This is breaking news and very interesting. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do mean so much. Also, if you're in a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So guys, I want to start out this video and quickly talk about something unrelated, but it's kind of fascinating. We actually just got a brand new interview of Tucker Carlson and Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, I would highly suggest checking this out. It's actually a great interview, but the real reason I just bring it up real quick is because a lot of people are panicking right now about things that I believe are non-issues. It's important to realize that 2.5 years ago, Sam Bankman-Fried rugged the entire cryptocurrency market, essentially destroying all the credibility we had in the cryptocurrency industry. Sam Bankman-Fried, at the time, thought he set the industry back 5 to 10 years. What we are seeing, though, is that the cryptocurrency industry has dramatically recovered. And shortly after this event happened, we had Bitcoin ETFs going live. And now, today, we now have a strategic United States cryptocurrency reserve. It's really important to zoom out sometimes and understand that right now the market is very fidgety. But where we have came over the last 2.5 years is absolutely shocking. We are watching wide-scale adoption of the cryptocurrency asset class. And the fact that the United States government is now legitimizing these assets is absolutely massive. And it's important that people don't zoom into some of these more nuanced details and overthink it. What we have gone through over the past 4 years is nothing short of extraordinary. And I think the next 4 years are going to be even more fascinating. With that said, I want to talk about one other thing real quick before we get to the strategic reserve, and that's some big updates coming to the XRP ledger. Decentralized ID is something we already have, but then we have credentials coming, permission domains, and permission dexes. What you are seeing right now is some of the big things coming to the XRP ledger are all built around compliance. And we're going to talk a bit more about at the end of the video exactly why these things are coming to the XRP ledger, but it's extremely unique. And I just wanted to run this by you before we get into some of the later topics, because I think you should think back on some of these things and say, okay, wait, this is making a lot of sense. Now, to get into the main topic of the video right now, because this is what the market is reacting to in real time, this is the breaking news, and that's that we finally have the executive order for the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Now, one of the things I was a little upset about in initially reading this is that we are going to have a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and digital asset stockpile. I was really hoping it would be a cryptocurrency strategic reserve where they treated Bitcoin the same as other cryptocurrency assets. It doesn't look like that's what we're going to get. Now, is this bearish? Is this the end of the world? No, absolutely not. It's not what I would have picked to do. I don't think it's the most bullish thing for other cryptocurrencies. I think it's still massively bullish for those cryptocurrencies, but not as bullish as the United States government putting them on par with Bitcoin. So David Sachs came out and he said just a few minutes ago, President Trump signed an executive order to establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by federal government that has been forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture. This means that it costs taxpayers not a dime. He then goes in to talk a bit about how much Bitcoin there is, talks about how it's going to be a digital Fort Knox, talks about how they're not going to sell any of the Bitcoin because sold Bitcoin before in the past has cost the United States government a lot of money. He then continued to say that in addition, the executive order establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin forfeited in criminal or civil proceedings. So pretty much the same exact thing. It's just that they are choosing to put the other cryptocurrencies in the digital asset stockpile, while Bitcoin has the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. So Bitcoin is obviously being favored here by the United States government to a certain degree. Do I think that makes sense from a government standpoint? Yes, I do. It's very clear at this point that the United States government sees Bitcoin as something different than the rest of the cryptocurrency assets, which is fine. I don't think that's some kind of super negative thing. I was hoping the United States government would take a different view, but at the end of the day, I still think it's massively bullish that they're even doing a digital asset stockpile. Remember, the other thing they could have done was say, hey, we're going to sell all the other digital assets we get and convert these to Bitcoin, That is not what they're choosing to do. The other thing I want to point out here is that the only thing the United States government is not going to do in the strategic digital asset stockpile is purchase digital assets. I still think that opens the door for Ripple to gift XRP to the strategic digital asset reserve. Although I will say, having it separated from Bitcoin, I think it gives Ripple a significantly less of an incentive to do something like this. Because it's not really going to compare the credibility of XRP against something like Bitcoin, it kind of just gets to the point of like, hey, is that still going to be something that makes sense for them to do? That's one of the biggest things that I'm still evaluating here. Does that still make any sense for Ripple to actually strategically gift XRP into the digital asset strategic reserve, knowing that that's now separated from Bitcoin? My overall thoughts on this are pretty concise. Ultimately, I think this is pretty much to be expected from the United States government. I would have been pretty shocked if the United States government was putting XRP on the same level as Bitcoin, even though I think it should be. And the big reason why I would have been shocked if they did that was just because of how many traditional Bitcoin people are already in the United States government. It just seemed like I would have been shocked if that was to happen. Now, I did think it was certainly possible. I would have been pleasantly shocked by that taking place because it would have just seemed like, wow, I can't believe we have made it this far already. Now, that's not what's going to take place here, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't think this is any kind of negative thing per se. I think this is still massively bullish and shows that the United States government is still very, very interested in stockpiling these digital assets. It's just going to be super interesting to see how strategic it's really going to be. Because it's really just from forfeiture, or that's how it's being positioned, it's like, I don't know, it kind of almost makes it seem like a negative thing to be in the stockpile, right? These are all the assets that are being seized from criminal activities. Do you really want to gift assets into something that's a seized strategic stockpile? Now, the thing is it's kind of the same thing for Bitcoin. It's all seized Bitcoin. And it kind of, in my opinion, puts a little bit more of a negative connotation on the whole stockpile. It's like, look at all these digital assets that were stolen or were taken from illegal criminals using these things for criminal activities. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I walk away from this. Like, I'm not a big fan of that part. I know it's kind of how it was always positioned to be. I don't think it was really any surprise that that's how they're going to do it. I just think from my perspective, it's kind of a negative connotation on the entire thing. Yes, they're keeping it. They don't want to sell it, but it's like, hey, look at all these criminals we caught using cryptocurrency. So that's kind of my biggest thing around the sentiment around it. I see right now, if you take a look at what's going on in the market, we see right now that cryptocurrencies in general have a red candle going on, even Bitcoin selling off. Like I said, my thoughts around this are a lot less to do with, oh, XRP's not in the same stockpile as Bitcoin, right? That's a pretty much a big nothing burger to me. I don't think it really means much at the end of the day. I think it's more of just the idea that it's really just a, hey, we caught criminals using this stuff. Okay, let's take it and throw it in the stockpile. I think that's the part that makes it feel a little less strategic, right? It just feels a bit more like, okay, if we happen to stumble across this stuff, we'll keep it. If not, it's whatever. It's going to be interesting to see any clarity we get on this tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow's the big day where we're going to have Trump essentially talking about these different things. And we could very well hear a very different narrative than we're hearing originally all over X. I think this is still massively bullish. I think it completely changes the game. And the fact that we already have this is absolutely incredible. But my two biggest points, as I've stated, is just that obviously it's a little disappointing to see the United States government separating Bitcoin out like it's something different than the rest of these digital assets. And the other thing would be just the idea that whether it's Bitcoin or XRP or Cardano, it's literally just like, hey, this is criminal activity, throw it in the stockpile. You know, that's the kind of thing that I wish was maybe a little differently here. Maybe there was better language about how they're capitalizing these reserves. Maybe there is something more strategic to capitalizing the reserves. Those would be the kinds of things that I'd probably get a bit more excited about. And I think the market would be a bit more excited about it as well. I think it's mostly the narrative behind it that just kind of does a bit of a disservice to the assets themselves. So Overall, I think this is a massively bullish thing for the long-term thesis behind cryptocurrencies. I am still hoping we're going to get some kind of other announcement tomorrow, like no capital gains taxes on cryptocurrency like XRP. I think that could still be tremendously bullish. We still know that the United States government is doing something in regards to United States-based cryptocurrency assets. But the way it's structured right now, it's just kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter if it's this, it doesn't matter if it's that. We'll just throw it in the reserve if it was seized in a criminal activity. So it just seems like this is a bit different than what Trump initially put out there in terms of a strategic reserve with XRP, Solana, and Cardano. It seems like this is now just whatever the United States government can get their hands on. So, I really hope we get some additional clarity tomorrow on this. I think overall it's definitely not a step back, but I don't think it's really as great as some of us has hoped. It really seemed like when Trump originally put out that tweet, like this was going to be earth shattering. There was going to be a priority on some of these United States based cryptocurrencies. And it just doesn't seem like that's the announcement that has really materialized. Now, this was David Sachs who put it out there. We haven't heard Trump really talk about this yet, and we haven't heard the administration really position themselves on any of these issues. So there's still a lot to be seen here. I don't think anyone should get ahead of themselves in terms of being disappointed about this. I just think right now there's still a lot of questions to be answered. It seems a little bit more of like, okay, just to start, we're starting out here and likely see some additional things added on later down the road. I think tomorrow we're going to get some more clarity on this, but at the end of the day, that's just kind of where we are. Wanted to make a video quickly breaking that down. To be honest, I had a completely different video all queued up, and then it was boom, this happened. I was like, all right, here are my raw, unfiltered thoughts. A little bit of a different kind of video. Wanted to break everything down for you. Like I said, massively bullish for the long run. Honestly, was hoping for a little more clarity, a little more nuance, a little bit more, I don't know, thinking on how this could be built out in a way that really benefits the United States and strategically pushes United States-based cryptocurrencies into a class of their own. In my opinion, this original thing does not necessarily do that, and I'm hoping that it gets iterated in time to come. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update, and for now, Mickle out.